In this session, we are going to read a very famous text called the Ribhu Gita, and I am going to offer my commentary. And we have two books here sent by one of our members, Nick. He wanted me to comment on these books a little bit. So the first book is called The Essence of Ribhu Gita by Professor N.R. Krishnamurti Iyer. Recently published, I think, on 2000, not recently, it's 20 years ago, by Sri Ramanashram, Tiruvannamalai. So those who got my message on Skype group are most welcome to the stream. Okay, I think Nick is already here. Well, welcome to the stream. I don't know how this will go because internet is not the best here, but I'm still attempting because there are plans to start some online meetings on YouTube because of the very strange state of affair that we are facing with Skype. It's no more a good software nowadays. So we'll try to move our meetings. We'll try to conduct one more meeting in addition to our Sunday meetings, which are happening on Skype. We are going to conduct them on YouTube. So this is a very primary kind of experimental live stream. Hopefully it goes well. So let's go back to the books. And I think that these books are copyrighted. So I'm not going to read each and every word of it. If you are interested, go and get the books. So I'm going to read some part of it which I find very interesting. And whenever there is a need, I'll offer my comments. The connection is made to the Guru field, and whatever comes through the Guru field, I'll try to communicate to you. So let me see if there are any people here. Yes, 3 viewers are there. Okay, so if the sound drops or the picture is not good, then I would request those who are watching to tell me in the chat or send me a message on Skype group. I'm online on Skype also. So Professor N.R. Krishnamurti Iyer was the head of the Department of Physics in the American College, Madurai. So the author is very well educated person and belongs to the field of physics. So now we get the date here, August 15, 1984. It's a very, very old book, but it will be interesting. So let me read through the preface a little bit, because this will give you history of the book. This will give you a history of the original author of the Sanskrit text. So the preface says that the Ribhu Gita forms the 6th section of the Sanskrit work known as Shiva Rahasya. It is the teachings of Lord Shiva in Mount Kailash to his devotee Ribhu, from whom the Gita derives its name. So even before we start reading it, I would like to give you a little bit of general information. For example, this Gita forms a part of a bigger text called the Shiva Rahasya, which means the secret of the Shiva. And Shiva is not a god here, is not a deity whom the people worship. Shiva is you. Shiva is the ground of all existence, which is you, which is pure consciousness and emptiness, nothingness. That is Shiva. And I don't know why South Indian people, they write it as Siva. So it is not Siva, it is Shiva. And they call it Lord because that is how the traditions are set up. And if some book says that this teaching was given by Shiva to somebody, some rishi or some great teacher, it usually means that the teacher or the guru has gotten it from his own self, his own essence. That is my interpretation. Obviously, I'm going to inject my own interpretations here. So, if you are a devotee of Lord Shiva and you are a fan of Ribhu, please do not mind my uneducated guesses here. It is just, I'm going to tell you what I think. So, that is all I'm going to do. Everything that is written in this Gita, you already know it. There is nothing new in this Advaita text. You have the required knowledge already. So it will be interesting to see what other writers are saying about Advaita. So this will be our project here. So the name Ribhu is also very interesting. Although you will not find this kind of commentary anywhere. This very original commentary here. So Ribhu means that which arrived out of knowledge. Ri always, it is a root word for knowledge, like Rigved or Richa, same, or Rishi. So in same sense, I am going to interpret that Ri in the Ribhu stands for knowledge. Bhu is the root word for happening, arising, coming out, being created. So very beautiful name, very, very beautiful name. We do not know the real names of these people. Okay, Ashish is online. Pranam. Ashish also contacted me on Skype. Also, I think same Ashish. We have 2 or 3 Ashish in our group. So I think the same Ashish is here. So I'm going to chit-chat a little bit and drift a little bit because I'm not doing a very serious reading of it. And the final trivia that I'm going to give you is Gita means a song. It is not Gita, it is Geet mostly. Then it became Gita somehow. So, a song of Ribhu. It is the song, and that is why the content that you are going to see will be kind of poetic. It will be more prose than verse. So, let us go forward. The book is saying the Ribhu Gita was translated into Tamil verse by a Brahmin Vedic scholar of high repute by name Bhikshu Shastrigal, who was also an accomplished scholar in Tamil. He translated the work under the name of I cannot pronounce it. And because of his efforts, attained renowned fame among the Tamil devotees of Shiva. Now, another trivial information here is that this book does not strictly belong to Advaita tradition, although it is about Advaita, but the tradition that it belongs to is Shiva tradition, the Shaivite tradition. So, although I think that it will be a total blend of the Shiva philosophy and Advaita philosophy. Just like Avadut Gita. Avadut Gita also is not strictly Advaita material, but belongs to the devotees and the tradition of the Tattreya, who is a mixture of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiv, all three. I don't know more history of that. But this is India. You see, everything becomes embellished. Everything is decorated into something of which the academic people cannot make any head and tail of. So there is a connection with Bhagwan Sri Raman Maharshi here, who often recommended this book a lot. So there are 1924 verses, but we are obviously not going to read all of them. It is a big book. This book presented herewith consists of only 122 verses from the original Tamil work. And there is a very good point by Krishnamurti Iyer that it is the earnest hope and prayer of the translator that after reading this English text, devotees all over the world would make the pilgrimage to Tiruvannamalai and complete their sadhana in the immediate presence of Lord Arunachala Shiva and Sadguru Raman enshrined in his Samadhi in Sri Ramanashram. So he is asking us to go and visit the ashram. So this is the essence of Ribhu Gita. I'm going to skip the benedictory verses. You all know they are salutations to all forms of Shiva. I'm going to skip that. Actually, they're very good. They sound very good in Sanskrit. I don't think they will sound nice in English. So we are back in the text, main body of the book, and it says the following verses constitute the teachings of Shiva to Ribhu, who in turn transmits those teachings to his disciple Nidaga Rishi. The treatise goes by the name Ribhu Gita. Now we have this another Ribhu Gita. Before I start reading from the essence of Ribhu Gita, this Ribhu Gita is first English translation from the original Indian epic Shivrasya. It is translated by Dr. H. Ramamurthy, assisted by Master Nome. So it is a production of Society of Abidance in Truth, Santa Cruz, California, USA. This is a very big book. It is about more than 200 pages. And yes, there is a picture of Shiva here. But no, whenever I say Shiva, it's not about this yogi with snakes and all sitting here. It's not about that. That came later. probably I'll talk about Shiva and his whatever happened to his image throughout the time while we read the book. So this one, the Ribhu Gita proper, is a bigger book, and I'm going to read few things from here also now and then, just to check how the original song sounds like. So you can see the Sanskrit written here, but not in the Devanagari. These are the table of contents. And it essentially says the same thing. So let us go back and forth between these two books. Let us see what happens. So number 5. The universe was neither born, nor maintained, nor dissolved. This is the plain truth. The basic screen of pure being awareness stillness, devoid of all the moving shadow pictures of name and form of the universe, is the soul, eternal existence. So this is the nuclear bomb here exploded in front of you. What can you say about these verses now? What can you say about this nuclear bomb that immediately was exploded? Now, when the translator says the universe, most probably he means the existence. What is this existence? It is unborn. It is eternal. It is not in time. It is not being maintained. It is maintaining itself of whatever forms they appear here. They maintain themselves, not dissolved. And essentially, it is not there. It is almost nothingness. So there is no possibility of it getting dissolved somewhere. There is no possibility of it to be destroyed. That which is born dies. That which is unborn, Swayambhu, cannot die. It cannot be destroyed. And he is saying this is the plain truth. Believe it or not. And he is calling this existence as being awareness stillness, which is another word for existence, consciousness, bliss. Satchitanand, that has been translated like this: being, awareness, stillness. Because being is existence, obviously. Awareness is also translated as consciousness. And stillness is bliss. That's all. So he's saying that it is mostly like a screen made up of nothing, and it has nothing. The names and form, they appear like pictures. The universes, they appear like pictures in this empty screen. So yes, he again says that it is the eternal existence. So Nick has a comment here. Maya means that which doesn't exist but apparently appears. That means it is never created or born. That means creation or existence doesn't exist. Very good. Yes, that is the proper definition of Maya. Thank you very much, Nick. That which never happened is Maya. So, well, the universes are never born, and they are not maintained and not dissolved. Now, very interesting, because it is hinting towards the three kind of forces that are present in the Vedic literature. And the birth of the universe is, the cause of the birth is the force called Brahma, and maintainer is Vishnu, everybody knows that, and the destroyer is the Shiva. But that is another Shiva, that is also called the Rudra, also known as by many names, Mahadev and Parameshwar and whatnot. Because of the richness of the philosophies here, and the names have been reused by every new philosophy that came up on the foreground here. The old names were reused and redefined. So the Shiva that we are speaking of here is not the Shiva who is the destroyer. That is why I said it is going to be a little bit confusing if you are very new to this blend of philosophies that we find here in this country. So it is what Ribhu is saying, that there is no Brahma, there is no Vishnu, and there is no Mahesh. This is the plain truth. So what are you worshipping then? That is why I called it the nuclear bomb, because it destroys everything. The existence has nothing. There is, it is Maya. It is not true. It is all moving pictures, names and forms. It simply appears. The essence is being, awareness, stillness. And it is not born, it is not maintained, it is not destroyed. So cleans up everything. It cleans up, the blackboard. Now it is completely black, like it should be. Now the problem with these kind of texts is that they will say what it is, but they will never tell you why. So why is it being, awareness, stillness, existence? Why it was never born? Why nobody is maintaining it? These questions will never be answered in these kind of songs, the Gitas. So you will need to take help of an interpreter, or not even interpreter, a proper guru. Why is that? Why is everything just moving shadows on the screen of nothingness? You will not get this kind of knowledge by reading the books, especially these kind of books. These books were meant to be mnemonic. They were written like a song, and they were meant to be memorized. They do not go in depth. They do not try to explain everything. The explanation is always given by the guru. So like I said it somewhere else also, that why did they do that? Because in those times, it is not that there were no means to write down. There were books and all those papers and whatever, made of palm leaves and all, and people used to write. But some very intelligent people, very wise people, they saw that this is not going to last. It is not going to last, and it is kind of very difficult to write down everything on stones. As soon as you write down these things on stones, they become a target of the attackers. The attackers first, they destroy the buildings that have knowledge on them. So either the knowledge was encoded into forms like deities and all, temples, and not given out in plain language to protect it, because they saw it, they saw the future somehow. Probably it happened many times. Attackers simply destroyed everything that was collected. So they came up with an idea to store the knowledge in the minds of the people. Minds were used as a storage device. And you know very well, if you know the nature of the mind cannot store this huge pile of words, but it is very happy when you convert it into a song. The song is associative, and it has rhyming words, and is very interesting. You can memorize the song. You can actually. This must be your everyday experience, that the songs are very easy to memorize because of the repetition they have. And if you put them in a beautiful tune, meter, beat, then it's very easy. So the Gitas, all kinds of Gitas were written to be memorized. And the students first memorized them without even understanding. When the memory was solid, when it was like became their nature, they could recall the whole Gita on command, then the Guru would sit down and tell the meanings of these verses. So let us go and check some of the. I'm going to skip the preface here in the original translation. There's a lot of stuff here. So I think this chapter is worth reading actually. But I'm going to show you how these verses are written. So like it says, I am ever pure, enlightened, eternal, totally blemishless. I am of the nature of the ever blissful. I am Brahman alone. And the next one says, I am of the nature of the eternal perfection. I am existence, consciousness, bliss. I am of the nature of non-duality alone. I am Brahman alone. So it is like a song, and it contains only the essence. It does not go into explaining why I am Brahman alone, why I am ever pure, enlightened, and eternal, and why. Well, the book is not going to tell you why. The book is not going to explain to you why I am existence, consciousness, bliss. No, it does not do it. So those who are thinking that I'll become enlightened or I'll get all the knowledge of Advaita by simply reading scriptures of this nature, then no, you won't. You won't get anything. Yes, you can memorize this stuff. You can memorize these songs. They're very beautiful. But forget about knowledge. It's not going to come from the book. Let me read what Nick is saying. Personification of Shiva as yogi is done so that the truth doesn't get destroyed. If at least it remains a story, or it may really happen, we don't know. Yes. And every verse is an explosion, nuclear bomb in Ribhu Gita. Yes. Actually, you can take one verse and then give a commentary for a whole day. They are like a zip file. I'm adapting my language for the new generation. So they are very condensed form. of Advaita knowledge, or even the knowledge that is appears in Shaivism, for example. Shaivism is not non-dual, Shaivism is dual, but still I find that there is this traces of non-duality that appear in Shaivism. So it is very difficult to compartmentalize these philosophies into dual and non-dual kind. For example, the Sankhya philosophy is mostly accepted as dual philosophy, but then the yoga came out of Sankhya, and by Patanjali, and Purush and Prakriti were unified, which is also called the yoga, the union of Purush and Prakriti. So ultimately it became non-dual, isn't it? And same thing happened in Shaivism. The Shiv and Shakti has to be unified. That is the end goal of a practitioner of Shaivism, that he wants to unify Shiv and Shakti. He wants to marry them. He wants to unite the Shakti with the Shiv and so on. So ultimately they end up in non-duality. Same thing happened with Buddhism, that it starts as another path that seems to take another route totally. Just like Ribhu is saying that, well, there are no deities, guys, do not worry about them. Do not worship these things. And Avadut also says the same thing. And Gautam Buddha also told, he also tried to clean up whatever corruption happened in knowledge by denying the Vedic knowledge. And so instantly he became an enemy of the priest class. But ultimately, whatever Gautam Buddha is teaching is non-duality. Uses simpler words, uses simpler language, because the Sanskrit was banned. Sanskrit became the language of the elite in the Dark Ages. So he dropped down to Pali, which is kind of a language of the masses. So, but the philosophy is same, exactly same. So when I read these kind of classification of Indian philosophies, that look, this one is atheistic, this one is theistic, this one is monotheistic, and that one is polytheistic, and this is dualistic, and that is semi-dualistic. And well, I laugh, because they are all giving you a different picture of the same thing. Realize this. You will see this only when you know. If you know only the scriptures, all you will see is differences. Once you have the knowledge, especially the self-knowledge and knowledge of oneness, which is your own experience, then you will see what is common there. I see everything as same. All scriptures saying the same thing. Obviously, when you say that the universe was not born, not maintained, and not dissolved, it is going to anger the priest class a lot. So I don't know how this book survived. And they were quoted into theistic vocabulary like the Shiva and so on, probably to protect them. That is my guess. So I'm also not going to kind of unzip the verses here. I'm simply reading it. You see, I'm going to give a commentary here. If you do not know that you are being awareness stillness, well, it cannot be known by reading the book. So let us go forward in the essence of Ribhu Gita. Number 6. Some may argue that this universe of duality, multiple existences, is a factual second reality, clearly seen by the senses, operated by the mind. But then, Are the senses anything apart from the mind? Can they function without the support of the mind in which they are embedded? What is this mind except a bundle of thoughts? What are thoughts except evanescent ripples in the still, limitless ocean of pure being awareness self, which is the sole existence without a second? So here is an attack on the dualistic philosophy. Not really attack, he is trying to dismiss the duality. Because whenever there are senses, the senses are going to cause a rift, a division into your experience. Without the senses, the experiencer is merged into the experience. Actually, there is no experience, you can say. As soon as there is an experience, and it must come through the senses. So, the mind says, our logical ability and whatever, you see, the distinguishing ability in the mind says that, look, whatever I know as seen by the senses is something else, something different from whatever is. Looking at those perceptions or those thoughts, you see, you can say that the senses are non-physical also. There are mental senses that sense the thoughts and emotions and all. So that there is a bigger meaning of the word senses or the indri in Indian philosophies. It is not simply the 5 senses that are on the body. There are more senses. So some may argue that, well, whatever the senses are sensing is something different from whatever I am. He says, no, the senses are showing you something which is created by the mind. He is asking, but then are the senses anything apart from the mind? Is your sensory experience not a mental experience? Is it not subjective? Do you sense objects, or do you sense that which the senses are telling you? You see, this is how we do the unification of the experiences of the world, of the body, and of the mind. We find that this is all mind. All of the experience is mind, mental activity. So he's asking, can the senses mean anything without a functioning mind? He's saying that they are embedded in the mind. Yes, the senses are a part of the mind actually. And he's saying, what is this mind except a bundle of thoughts? Which means it is a non-physical happening. There is no matter there. There is no trace of matter in any of our experiences. And he is then saying, what are thoughts except evanescent ripples and still limitless ocean of pure being awareness self? What do you mean by ripple? It is a vibration. The modulation of consciousness appears as mental activity. If this sounds like magic, then you will need to do some introspection. You will need to establish the means of knowledge, and you will need to establish the criteria for truth and derive these basic truths. Question your experience. What is this experience? And whatever is said here will become true for you. We are not going to do that today because that's what we do in every other satsang, isn't it? That is what I am saying in every other podcast and every other video here. We are doing nothing but introspection. So those who have a background in Advaita will clearly see what he is saying, what Ribhu is saying here. Those who do not know, for them this is mambo jumbo. They cannot understand this kind of language. Now, some people will say, oh, it is Sanskrit, I do not know Sanskrit and therefore I cannot understand. No, even if you become Pandit in Sanskrit, you become a grand master of Sanskrit, you won't understand. Go and read the original Sanskrit, you won't understand a single letter in that text. These texts are not a source of information, not a source of knowledge. They are encoded knowledge. They are just verses composed by great saints, great rishis to preserve the knowledge. Similarly, you will never get knowledge when you visit temple. Although all temples are encoded knowledge, have the encoded knowledge there. Many of the temples are what I call as the Guru Pradesh, which means they are a connection to the Guru field, but you will never get anything there. They look beautiful, they are grand, like they are so tall, like mountains, and have the gold top, which makes them very, very attractive to the attackers, because a lot of gold and gems and diamonds studied in the temples. But essentially they were a source of knowledge in the ancient times. They were also like universities, and they were also a place of experimentation. For example, the Shiva temples with the lingams, they were not meant for public, they were meant for tantrics. And every statue, every carving there, everything represented something. It was like a museum of knowledge. And there were rooms for practice. So now, what is it? It has been converted into a mindless religion of some kind, which blind faith, which the ordinary illiterate people think is magical. They go and worship and pray there. So you will not get knowledge in temples also nowadays. They have become a place of business. You will not get knowledge from these kind of books, the source books. Yes, you will get something from the commentaries written by others, like other seekers and other masters. The commentaries are more explanatory, but ultimately you will get it from your own experience. If you cannot see that your current experience is just a modulation of consciousness, just changing, apparent change, ripples, vibrations of nothingness, you will not understand what this number 6 is telling you, the chapter 2 verse 34 is telling you. So let's go forward. The existence of the illusion of silver in the mother of pearl is not a reality apart from the reality of mother of pearl, which is the basic reality. The illusion of the universe is based on the mind, which again is an illusion based on the still awareness being self. So there is a metaphor here which often appears in all the text, irrespective of tradition, irrespective of philosophy, which is the mother of pearl metaphor. So everybody knows it by now, I think. It shines and it looks like it is made of silver, but no, its reality is something else. One second. So number 8. In the unitary, undifferentiated, still ocean of existence, awareness, self, body, senses, mind, intellect, and jivas, which are embodied souls, are nothing but evanescent ripples, not apart from that soul self. So now we see this word self with capital S. which means you, which means your essence. So he's saying that it is only one. It is undifferentiated, has no parts, and it is infinite. It's like ocean. And these bodies with the senses and the mind and the other faculties of the mind, intellect and so on, and the embodied souls, the jivas. Now this is something new, isn't it? You don't know what is an embodied soul. Your experience does not tell you about these embodied ones, because you will need to see one who is disembodied before you can find somebody who is embodied. But this mind-body creature, the human creature, is also known as the jiva. Jiva. Not only human, all the other animals and plants and insects, so on. They are all embodied souls, which means they are embodied minds. The seed mind, when it takes on a form of a body, you can call it a jiva, embodied souls. And he is saying, well, it is not different from the one self. They are also forms. So they are also ripples that come and go. You can be very, very sure that they are Maya, or they are not real, simply by looking at them, that they do not stay. They come and go. They are assembled, the body, senses, mind, jivas, they are assembled out of other stuff, and then they are disassembled after some time. And throughout this time, they keep changing. Like a whirlpool, which is assembled out of nothing but surrounding water, changes, and boom, gone. So what is the reality of the whirlpool? Is the structure reality or the water reality? That you need to understand. So I hope the sound and picture is okay for everyone. So let's go forward. 9. The universe of name and form, the embodied creatures and their creator, mind, desire, karma, action, misery and everything other than the self are merely thought formations projected by the powers of the self on its screen, which is self. So there is nothing but self. And these appearances, they are projected by the self on itself. What are we witnessing right now is an appearance. Okay, Nick is saying it is okay. Yes. Okay, thank you. Yes. If it drops or becomes slow, then probably I won't come to know from here. So number 9 is saying that it is not that something appears in front of the self. It is not that some other kind of vibrations, non-physical, non-mental vibrations, they appear in front of the self. It is the self itself that appears to itself. There is nothing else. Even when you reject the experience as Maya or as illusory, some people may say, oh look, there is the illusion and there is the witness of the illusion. There are two. But he is saying no. That which appears is also this one which is witnessing. And here is embedded the knowledge of oneness. You can see the knowledge that the emptiness is form and the form is emptiness. Self is emptiness, form is Maya. Other words, just different philosophies, same message. Advaita, not two. Now, when you say not two and you try to talk about the one thing, in Advaita we give it a different name. We stop calling it Atman and we shift to Brahman. The Brahman is the one. The Brahman is the Satchitanand. And the Brahman is the awareness, existence, bliss, stillness. So he is not doing that kind of step 1, step 2 here. Ribhu is directly taking you to oneness. He is not saying that look, Atman is the witness and no, he is not doing that. So the whatever is the proper Sanskrit word there, we do not have the Sanskrit text here, unfortunately. So we could have seen that what he calls as the self in Sanskrit, it's probably Atman only, Brahman only. So the self is the one self here, not myself or yourself or this self or that self. No, one self. And he is talking about the dual experiences of the karma, misery and happiness, suffering and desire, non-desire, creator, destroyer. These all, they are formations on the screen of the self. It's number 10. And the state of firm abidance in the thought-free, alert awareness self constitutes integral perfection, yoga, wisdom, moksha, sahat samadhi, the state of Shiva and the state of Atman self, which scriptures proclaim by the title of Brahman. So as I was telling you, that the Atman is sometimes taken as different from Brahman, but then finally it is united with Brahman, and he is telling you a practice. He is pointing at the final state of the seeker, which is abidance in that thought-free, alert awareness self. This is yoga, he says. He says it is the perfection, it is the wisdom, and it is also moksha, which means it is also the liberation, and it is also the samadhi. So the state of the Shiv, you become Shiv here. If you abide like this, you are the Shiv, and you are the Brahma, and you are the Atman. They are all same now. You are always liberated. You are freed from this. As soon as you are freed from the ignorance that there are two and I am something else, well, that is not liberation, that is bondage, that is not samadhi, that is vikshep, as it called in Sanskrit, and that is not yoga, that is division, that is not wisdom, that is ignorance, it is imperfect state. So if you abide in this awareness self all the time, he is saying thought-free, alert, aware self. So if you are thought-free, that means it is not a monkey mind. The thoughts come and go. You are not a slave of the thought. The thought comes, I need to do something, and then run to do something. The thought comes that I need something, I desire something, and then run to get it. So there is no freedom here. For a yogi, the thoughts are coming, but they do not have any power. They are like a burnt rope. The burnt rope cannot bind anything. So it is also called the Sahat Samadhi. So this is the state of abidance in this knowledge of who am I. Number 11. There never was a mind nor any of its countless forms like the world, Jeev, etc. There isn't the least doubt that all these are the form of the eternally undifferentiable Supreme Brahma Self. This is the truth. The one who hears this great secret diligently and understands completely abides as Brahman Self. So I think that the self is added by the translator to make it more clear. So Atman self, Brahman self, and the Shiva self. And that means they are one and the same thing, so that we do not confuse it with anything else, you see. The Sanskrit is a kind of very rich language, and just to make the song less boring, the composers, they used many words to denote the same thing, to point to the same thing. So it, simply because the name is different does not make it different. And that is what I am talking about when I say that you won't get any knowledge from the scriptures if you are not initiated by a master. If you are not under a guru, forget about getting knowledge. You will get all the confusion instead. Because somewhere it will be written Atman, somewhere it will be written Ishwar, somewhere it will be Shiv, and all those, there will be 1,000 names here and there. And bookworm kind of seeker will not learn anything. He will become very confused. And that is why I normally do not read from the book. I do not do that. I do not find it so useful for people who are struggling, who are trying to get knowledge by reading. Because you see, their conditioning is that I went to the school, I read all the books, and that is how I got all the knowledge, and because of the knowledge I got the degree, because of the degree I got the job. Probably I'll do something similar in the field of spirituality and I'll get a degree in Advaita. So they are mistaken. Will never happen. Even though those who successfully pass the school and college and university, they are also just like a blank slate. They also have only the word intellectual knowledge. There is a very funny name for such people. They are called word warrior or book warriors. They know what is written in every book, but they do not understand what is written there. They have no knowledge of what is written, why it is written, meaning of it, and they cannot use it in their day-to-day life. Impossible. For somebody who comes out of our education system, if you leave him alone, well, he will die in one day, in spite of all the degrees. The education system is garbage. It does not teach you anything. It teaches you words. It makes you a book warrior. Not even bookworm. A bookworm is something good, isn't it? Bookworm is somebody who likes the book. But book warrior is a stupid person who knows nothing but books. So I should make it very clear, and I'm repeating it, and I'll keep repeating it to those who are joining in, that no knowledge can be gained from reading the books. If you have the knowledge, then this book will be interesting to you. Otherwise, these are just words. They are just squiggly things on a white background. It's not knowledge. Even if you read it in Sanskrit, it's not knowledge. That's why I start from experience. I do not start from a book. That is how I was told. Even though I wasted a lot of time in reading books of this kind and that kind, well, never understood them. Those who think that they understand the book probably they already have the experiential knowledge, that is why they understand it, or they are deluded. So the next section is about the Videha Mukta, where we'll go next time. I'll come back to the proper Ribhu Gita instead of the essence. I'm coming back to the other book, which is here is the chapter 1, Ribhu Nidga dialogue. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it properly. Ribhu Nidga Samvad. Here it starts. The rishis spoke thus to Ribhu, the devotee of Shambhu, the desireless, the best among sages, decked with ashes and rudrakshas, holy berries, who was at Kedar on the Himalayan peak, worshipping the Lord of Kedar. So that is why these books are so long. They had a lot of time to describe everything. So rishis are asking now, worthy son of Brahma, the lotus born, for our liberation, please enlighten us with the knowledge, the wisdom of the Vedas and Mahavakyas, which you obtained on Mount Kailash by worshipping Lord Ishvara, by means of which we shall be enabled to cross the shoreless ocean of Sansar, the repetitious cycle of birth and death. So now you can see what did I say before? In that verse, Ribhu himself demolished Brahma, Vishnu and all those things. But here you will find that he is now addressed as the worthy son of Brahma. So isn't that kind of tricky thing? How is it even possible? And then you see this name, Lord Ishvara. And there is no Ishvara in, you see, Advaita is no proper thing like this. But the preface said that he got it from Lord Shiva, not from Ishvara. So you will be confused if you read it like this, because the language is very, very ambiguous. So my interpretation will say that don't worry about these words. They all mean the same. They mean the self, the Brahman, the pure consciousness, being, awareness, bliss. That is all these words mean. Don't worry about the Mount Kailash and all this, you see, places. The self itself is the source of knowledge. And Ribhu got it from himself. So do not get confused by this. So gladdened by the words of the sages and looking around, he addressed the wise assembly, who were established in the contemplation of the feet of the Lord of the octonary form. Well, I'm not going to interpret that, you see. Ribhu was pleased. There is nothing secret from you, great souls, the noble devotees of Shambhu. Looking at you from the mansion of love of the three-eyed Lord, I shall communicate to you this. And the number 6, the aphoristic knowledge of Shankar, the great emanation from the head of the Vedas. Hear this, best of men, seekers after the knowledge of Brahman. Hear this, the ocean of Shiva, knowledge, by which you shall, conquering your attachment to the senses by devotion to Shiva, cross the sea of Sansar, offering obeisance to Mahadev. I shall expound to you the knowledge of Ishvara. So many words here, just like I told you, they use many words. knowledge of Brahman is equal to the knowledge of Shiv, which is also the knowledge of Shankar, same thing, you see. And the knowledge of Ishvara, same thing, don't worry about it, is going to be the same. Why do they use so many words? This is Sanskrit. You're free to do whatever you want in Sanskrit. If there is nobody to tell the meanings, then you will be lost here in this kind of books. Even if you know Sanskrit very well, nothing will be understood. So the first thing he says, the cause of the universe is the divine consort of Uma alone, the shining illuminator, the one cause of the sentient and insentient world, and the one cause of joy. For him, the great Ishwar or the Maheshwar, there is no need for any action. He, Hara, alone is the cause of all. So the self is the cause of itself, or in other words, it is uncaused, causeless cause. And he needs to say this like this. Why? Because it is a song. It needs to be interesting. So consort of Uma is the Shakti. The great Ishwar or Maheshwara is Shiva himself. Har is the Shiv himself. So many names here, you see. Many names. So now the important thing, I shall tell you the definition of the self, which is not available in all the triad of time, past, present and future. Ever the most secret of the secret, by summarizing what has been expounded by Shiva. There is nothing that can be talked of as non-self, neither the mind as the non-self, nor the world as the non-self. Be of the certitude that there is nothing that is non-self. By the absence of all sankalpas, by the elimination of all forms, by the conviction of there being only Brahman, be of the certitude that there is not anything that is non-self. In the absence of mind, there is no thinking. In the absence of body, there is no aging. With the conviction of there being only Brahman, be of the certitude that there is no non-self. Because of the absence of feet, there is no walking. Because of the absence of hands, there is no work. And repeat, there are being only Brahman alone. Be of the certitude that there is no non-self. So it goes like this. Now it will be kind of, you can see it is very, very cryptic. And why is one line being repeated again and again? Because it is a song, obviously. It will be repeated. So everything is like this in this book. So essentially what he is saying is, there is nothing which is not self. That is the secret of the secret. Probably you already know this secret. There is nothing here which is not self. There are no multiples. Now here is an interesting word. Absence of all sankalpas. Now the sankalpa is kind of very amusing word, and to be frank, I do not know the meaning of sankalpa here, and he has not translated it. That is again a big disappointment, isn't it? So although it does not matter, because the essential teaching is that there is not anything that is non-self. That is the essential teaching in all these shlokas. But those who are curious, what is this sankalpa? Well, in current day Sanskrit, it will be translated as will. So there is no will, it is saying. And again, there is one more translation which says vav, V-O-W, vav. And there is one more translation which I found somewhere, you see, in very cryptic scriptures, where it means imagination. Sankalp means imagination, which comes from tantric text actually, because this word is now used in tantric text mostly. I've never seen this used in Advaita, probably, but because I do not read all those books, so probably I must have missed it. So you can make any kind of interpretation here of the sankalpa. It can be imagination, can be willpower, anything. So there is no mind, there is no thinking, there is no walking, there is no working, there is no doer here which is separate. Now look at this. There is the absence of Brahma, the creator. There is no world. In the absence thereof, there is no Hari, the sustainer. There only being Brahman alone, be of the certitude that there is no non-self. So just now, people called him the son of Brahma and all those things, you see. And he is saying, no, there is no such thing. There is no creator. Because of that, there is no world also. It is an illusion, it only appears. And nobody is sustaining it. Hari means Vishnu. So there is no maintainer. And now the worshippers of the Vishnu are going to be kind of mighty confused by this. So obviously it is not a popular text in the Vaishnava tradition. In the absence of aging, there is no death, nor is there the world or the Vedas or the gods. So now look at this. The Vedas are full of worship of gods and goddesses of many kinds. He is putting them to an end. He is saying the Vedic stuff, Vedic literature is itself illusion. Look at that. So, okay. Bhagyalakshmi is saying, I feel Sankalp means intention. Oh yes, thank you very much. Yes, that is what I was trying to recall. The intention is a heavily used word in Tantra text. Intention, yes. It also means intention. Willpower, a vow that the magician make to get things done. Sankalpa. Although he's saying it's kind of illusion, because some people may say, well, that is the seed of everything, isn't it? The will is the seed of, but no, he says, no, it's not. So he destroyed the gods, he destroyed the three trinity, he destroyed the Vedas also. The same thing was done by Avdut. If you read the Avdut Gita, starts by destroying all these things, you see. And I think there is reason for doing that, because of these rituals and so much, you see, corruption that happened throughout thousands of years in the society. People started worshipping the gods and the books instead of trying to know what they are. The knowledge was replaced by blind faith. So these rishis, whenever they arrived and they understood the knowledge, first thing they did was, no, you are doing it wrong. They are not to be worshipped. The Vedas are not to be taken as on blind faith. You need to know what is written there. You need to affirm it through your own experience, what is written there. And the Upanishads also, you see. So, instead of blindly believing what is written there, he is encouraging you to know by yourself. So again, he is saying there is no dharma. So many people have preached what is right, what is wrong here, isn't it? So he is saying no purity, no concept of truth, no fear. All these arise while there is this jiva who lives in a society. Because there is no decay, there is no movement. Because there is no decay and there is no insentience. So this is probably not the correct translation. Probably he means that because there is no decay, there is no change. The change got translated as movement. And the change is called gati in Sanskrit. So the modern meaning of gati is movement. So there we see a little bit of mistranslation. So this is what will happen if you are not familiar with the direct knowledge that you have gained from your experience and logic. These translations are not accurate. Please see that. And this line does not make a lot of sense, isn't it? Because there is no decay, there is no insentience. It is probably a translation of the char achar, the achar. So the char, which is living beings, they turn into non-living beings because of the decay. So he's saying, no, it does not really happen. It is all an illusion. What you call sentient beings is equal to insentient. They are all illusions. So you see, you can dig into such sentences and find some basic truths there. So although it is a big project, isn't it? So that is why this essence of Ribhu Gita is such a good book because it will spare you this kind of what do you call detective work. Oh, what is this? What is this? Because there is no decay, there is no incident. What does it mean actually? And you can keep doing this kind of detective work. You will never know it. You will never know. This must be explained by a guru, a living teacher who has the living knowledge gained by direct experience. Only they can explain these things. The Pandits won't be able to explain these things, you see. They will simply, word to word translation will be there. Like here it happened. So the guru indeed does not exist. Truly there is no disciple. There being only Brahman alone. So just now I said guru and he trashed it also. He destroyed the guru also. So like Nick was saying, every one of this verse is like a bomb. It simply destroys. Note that there is nothing much to know. All you need to do is give up your blind beliefs. Oh, no, the guru is the highest. Guru knows everything. No, there is no guru. There is only you. The guru is an appearance of you. The guru is your form. The disciple is also your form. If you are thinking, I am the disciple, no, that is your ignorance. You are the self. As long as there is ignorance, there is a guru and there is a disciple. Ignorance gone, both are gone. Only self remains. Number 20. There being nothing that is first, there is nothing that is second, and there being no second, there is nothing as the first. If there is a concept of truth, something as non-truth will also arise. Now this is very interesting. When you say self is true, that sentence is somewhat wrong. It is very paradoxical. When you say that the self or the Brahman is the only truth, it is a wrong statement. Because it is true, it is not true, it is false and it is not false. It is both true, both false, and it is both not true and not false. This kind of poetry, this kind of paradoxical sayings you will find in Avadut Gita and many other Advaita texts. So, what does it mean really? the one cannot be broken down into two. The one cannot be explained in dualities in the terms of what is true and what is not true. That is what he is saying. If there is a concept of truth, something as non-truth will also arise. As soon as I say the Brahman is the truth, somebody is going to ask me, then please tell me what is not true. Please also show me what is false. Because something is true only when something is false, isn't it? True and false arise in duality. Non-duality, they lose the meaning. That is what he is saying. Now it is pretty much clear here. No need of interpretation also. But those who do not have knowledge of Brahman, well, they will keep wondering, why it is not true? You have not seen the Brahman, that's why you are asking this question. So he's saying there is nothing is first, nothing is second. What does it mean, nothing is first, nothing is second? Some people will say, well, the Brahma came first. Then it was divided into two. Then it became Ishvara, the universal mind. Then the Ishvara divided into three. Then the three started producing the universe. And the Jeev was born, fourth, and so on. And he's saying, no, that is your imagination. Nothing like this happened. Nothing came first, and therefore nothing came second. And because there is no second, you cannot call the first as the first. What he is saying is, well, stop using the dual words to describe that which is non-dual. The self is something which is non-dual, and you are imposing the dualistic concepts on it. Oh, it was first. Then please tell me what was second. You see, somebody is going to ask you as soon as you put this kind of ornamentation on the self. It is very pure, it is nothing, you see. So why are you putting it first, second, giving it numbers? Why are you putting it into categories of truth and not truth? True and false are only categories. How can you categorize the one? Emptiness, well, it has everything. Don't categorize it. That is what he is saying. So this is very important, you see. It's very important. This is the hallmark of Ribhu Gita, isn't it? I've seen this written only in Advaita Gita. It's kind of rarely seen, because I've seen many gurus also say, oh, the only truth is I am the self. Well, no, that is a very, very approximate statement there. If there be any concept of non-truth, a concept of truth will also arise with it. If there is inauspiciousness, know that there is a notion of auspiciousness. Likewise, if there is auspiciousness, there will be inauspiciousness. So yes, you are not auspicious, and you are not inauspicious also. So same, essentially the same teaching. Do not use dual words to describe the Brahman, Atman, self. So it's not fearless. Don't use this word. Yes, this one. If there is bondage, there is liberation. Is the Brahma bound or is it liberated? Well, whenever it takes the form, it is bound. Whenever it dissolves the form, it is liberated. The bondage and liberation, they are going on at the same time in one reality, one foundation of existence, which is nothingness. It is so free that it binds itself into forms. So he's saying, in the absence of bondage, there is no liberation. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for liberation? He's saying, no, there is no bondage also. What are you bound with? You have taken on bondage, which is freedom, expression of freedom, but it is not really bondage. It is an illusion. The limitations are illusory. There is really no limitation there. There is really no bondage there. Similarly, he's saying there is no death either. That which is not present is born, and that which is not present dies. So is there a birth? Is there a death? No. Is there a rebirth? No. Probably it's not written here, but in Avdut Gita it's written that nothing is born. And this is also very nice statement. If there is you, there is I. If there is no you, there is no I. This I and this ego comes as a reaction to other I, other ego, even though they are not present, they are not there, both of them are not there. It is a reactionary mechanism. It is only a mental activity. The I and you, they do not exist. So if there is this, there is that. In the absence of that, there is no this either. So you can point to things and say, oh, this is different from that thing. But look, this one thing is not there. It is an illusion. It is a modulation of the self. And therefore that other thing is also not there. Same thing. If you are too much in the mind, if your intellect is functioning nicely, then this kind of confusion appears. I am different, you are different. This one thing is different from the other thing. It means that you are looking at the movie, you are not looking at the screen on which the movie is being presented. Screen is one. Screen is same. Whatever appears in the screen appears different from each other. Parts of the pictures, they are different. Ultimately, they are illusions. There is nothing on the screen, really. No reality there. If it is there, implies something not being there. It is not there, implies something being there. If there is an effect, there is some cause. In the absence of effect, there is no cause. So nothing is caused. There are no effects. There is no karma, as we saw in the essence of Ribhu Gita. No karma. If there is duality, there is concept of non-duality. In the absence of duality, there is no concept of non-duality. If there is something to be seen, there is seer. A seer is also there. In the absence of anything to see, there is no seer at all. What does it mean? And does that mean that there is no non-duality? That is what he is saying, isn't it? When you say duality, the opposing philosophy rises in the form of non-duality. When there is total non-duality, these things, these words do not arise. There is no experience, there is no experiencer also. And nobody is there to say, oh, it is non-duality. So if nothing is seen, there is no seer also. So this one is kind of very difficult to understand. Oh, if you take it out of context, you will say, no, there is a seer. This Brahma is the seer. But no, the seer is also an illusion created by the mind, about which today I am not going to talk because it is already 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we are going to continue this reading. Nick is saying, universe, you and your mind exist only in your mind, nowhere else it exists. Yes, they are mind created. Yes, do not really exist Or you can say they only exist as appearances, as names and forms. There is existence, but it is illusory existence. So that is why I was reading this one first, because very easy to understand, isn't it? Very easy to understand. But the Ribhu Gita proper, you will not understand these things if you have not seen them before. You will not understand it. It is one thing to see an elephant and then read the description of the elephant somewhere in the book, and it is totally other thing to first read the description without seeing the elephant. You see, the story of blind men and elephant. They could not see the elephant, and so even after touching it here and there, they could not understand what an elephant is. So reading these books are like this. You will not understand the elephant. So this was today's session. I hope you enjoyed the session. Reading of the Ribhu Gita. And I know it is not conventional. It is not traditional. I do not follow any rules, you see. I am talking from what I know. And if I see that written there, I comment. Otherwise, I say, I do not understand what is written there. This is more honest thing, isn't it? I do not want to stuff concepts in your mind. So it will be a strange commentary for some people, and it will be not that strange for many people. So we'll continue with the essence of Ribhu Gita and the Ribhu Gita proper tomorrow.